Hello everybody, Big Seven here, back for another AFL SuperCoach video, and I am on the march this week. 2,482 scored for the round, brings me up to a rank of 134. For anyone that happens to be watching and is ahead of me in the ranks, I have one warning for you. I am coming for you. I'm coming for that number one rank. Um, let's head into the side because although it was a good score, there was a bit of carnage along the way. In terms of trades, they were as advertised in the last video. I traded out Clayton Oliver. It looks like he's going to miss this week. So, considering all the other carnage, very happy to have made that trade. Traded him to Sam Doherty, who scored 124 on his debut for my side, and he looks to be back to himself. And then the other traded out Samson Ryan and brought in Bailey Smith, who was someone I was probably too enamored by, but there was just no chance I was not going to pick him after I hyped him up the week before, didn't pick him, scored 120, had midfield time. Only a 61 this week, and um, did okay in the first quarter, first half, but was pretty much anonymous second half. His CBA numbers also went down, which is a bit alarming, especially with Chalor due to come back on the side. He can still score okay with 40 to 50% CBAs, but just didn't on this occasion. I'm hoping that was just due to the Darwin heat, but time will tell. I still think he can average 100 over the course of the season, which means that it wasn't really a good trade-in, but not a devastating one either. The other bit of devastating news, Sean Darcy, used him as a vice captaincy. I was tossing up between him and Sicily and Brayshaw as well. Sicily was probably going to be my second option, but I thought the big man against Melbourne, who have given up three consecutive 110s to Ruckman, and I think two of those were Meek and Lysette. I thought it was a chance for the big man to dominate, and he did look good really early on until he did his hamstring. So missed out on vice captaining Sicily. I was pretty set on captaining Merritt until the news of Xavier O'Neill laid in came through. And just the fact that West Coast were playing mind games, I thought I didn't really. I lost a bit of confidence in Merritt. I thought, maybe they're going for the sneak attack tag kind of thing. I don't think he ended up tagging in the end. As it turns out, Merritt was carrying a bit of a cork from last week, only went 110. The player I captained, Marcus Bontempelli, 124. And it's kind of just happened again where I've captained a player that on any other day with their normal efficiency metrics would have gone 140, 150 plus, but just hasn't managed to do it the week I've captained them. So a little bit unlucky there. It was Bontempelli this week. It was Dawson a couple of weeks ago. 124 as a captain. I'm not going to sneeze about that, although missing out on Sicily a tad disappointing. Other things to mention for the rest of the side, Sinclair 71, sang his praises last week, 71 this week, not that good. Seamus Mitchell 69, potentially injured, although I don't think he's on an injury report, so there is some hope that he will play. The midfield, all pretty solid, except for the man I brought in last week, Jordan De Goat, 156. He looked amazing against North Melbourne. Granted, it was an easy matchup, but he's got West Coast this week, and he's got Melbourne the week after, who are leaking points to mid. So very happy to have De Goat in my side. In terms of loopholes, so I was able to loophole Matt Johnson. Could have put Bailey Humphrey in instead in the midfield position, but I thought 72, I thought there was a decent chance that Humphrey would struggle in the heat, given he's had some problems with cramping earlier this year. As it turns out, Mr. Humphrey kicks the winning goal, scores 90 points, and with Drury not being the star that gave me a choice, do I take 90 points or do I take Sheasel? So I elected to take the 90 points, so realistically, it's Johnson over Sheasel, which is 7 points, which is more than okay. Marshall 98 recovered from a poor start into the game. I think he was on about 27 at halftime, and because I had emergency loopholed him. I was already starting to go through my contingency options if he did score like a 50 or a 60. One of those options, and the one I probably would have gone for, would have been Briggs, who was pretty good in his second game, another score of 100 plus, but still wouldn't have made much difference over Marshall. And yeah, forward line, Dunkley, he's been, I think that's his third 140 in the last 4 games. Taranto, 4 goals for 147, very good. Gordon a bit down. Jack Zeeble, I'm starting to have some concerns about him. And Bailey Smith, I think, will be okay. So now, into the hot topic of the week, and that's the bye rounds. So I mentioned the Darcy Carnage. I didn't mention Sicily, who scored 172, went absolutely nuts, but also is going to be suspended for a week. And in a week where I was already looking to be thin on around 12 players, it's not something that I really want, or anyone would for the matter. And also, Rory Laird got suspended, so I've kind of dodged that bullet. Clayton Oliver doesn't look like he's going to play, so glad I got rid of him. But still, if I rearrange my side for round 12, so I'm just going to take off. Simpson could play that. She's off for Drury. Humphrey for Gordon. So looking at the side, in terms of, blue dots, Sinclair, Brayshaw, Marshall, Darcy, and Dunkley. So that's 17 playing. But that's also assuming that Seamus Mitchell isn't injured and gets up for this week. Chincotta, he wasn't a number I was banking on prior to this round. But with the Nick Newman injury, I'm hoping that he is the defender that gets recalled into the side. And Sam Simpson, who I'm really not that keen on. I think I know he was listed as being rested last week, but he would need to play over one of Cameron Hawkins, Close, Stengel, Myers, or Jack Henry or Ollie Henry. So I'm hoping that he can play over Ollie Henry, or they just play an extra forward, I guess. But it remains to be seen what they do what the Cats do. So realistically, it could be as low as 14 players playing before trades. And with the aforementioned Briggs doing well and Sean Darcy out for about 4 to 6 weeks, I think Kieran Briggs is a very logical trade in my position. And in terms of my plans for him, he's someone I'm going to basically use as a bridge option, 3 weeks in the side, trade him out at the round 15 bye. Who I trade him to is uncertain at this point. So if I'm looking at Briggs, he has a negative 64 break even. So I'm hoping he can make 120k in 3 weeks, and then I'll be offloading him then. And so that leaves me with 15. And I guess it comes down to how many of Mitchell, Chincotta, and Simpson actually end up playing. So I'm going to assume that Simpson doesn't play. I think he's the least likely to. And we end up with another North Melbourne rookie. But this one actually looks good, unlike the last one I brought in, which is Blake Drury. And the rookie is Eddie Ford. And I kind of went into last week thinking, Eddie Ford went 100 last against Sydney. I didn't really respect his game, to be honest. I was planning on bringing in Wardlaw as my rookie, but he went poorly against Collingwood and is at the elevated price point. Whereas now Eddie Ford's had 100, he's had an 83. The break even is super, super low. Negative 114. And it kind of reminds me a bit like Chandler, his role, where it does seem to be playing like a half forward, but he's someone that gets up the ground and really gets involved. Might even be a bit of wing. Not really too sure. The only thing that's important really is the negative 117 break even. He's playing well enough that his job security isn't an issue, and no reason not to trade him in really other than the round 15 buy. But again, I'm using him as a cash grab, and he's another player I will be trading out at round 15. So assuming Seamus and Chincotta play, that brings me up to 18. And if I'm looking at my other buys, round 13, pretty much set. It's only Humphrey and Stewart out. Round 14 is actually surprisingly okay for me. Sicily, Dacos, Mitchell I would plan to trade out at his buy. Merritt, Dawson, and DeGoey with a full forward line. So that's, how many is that? That's 17 on field, 18 plus, Goulden on field. Johnson plays, I think it was even 20 players after I trade out Seamus Mitchell. So round 14, I'm pretty set for. And round 15 is a killer, as it will be for a lot of people. And it makes that Bailey Smith trade a little bit more regretful. I thought he could go 110, 115, but it's probably a bit too fanciful. So Doherty, Chincotta, I'm assuming I have traded out. So I'd have Sicily on field. So I'd have 5 in defense, maybe a 6 with Chincotta gone, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So yeah, assuming Chincotta's gone, Mitchell would obviously be gone to a rookie that's hopefully playing. So that would be 14 playing for that round 15 buy. So it leaves me with a decision because I've only got 3 trades for the round 15 buy. 2 of them would be Ford and Briggs, and the last one would probably be Chincotta. So if I was to trade all 3 of them out at round 15, I would only have 17 playing. And that's also assuming that we don't get any more stupid suspension carnage. So I've kind of got 2 options from here. And it really just depends on how teams fall this week. If Mitchell and Chincotta, if 2 of Mitchell, Chincotta, and Sam Simpson are out, then my hand is pretty much forced, and I trade out one of those guys for a round 14 premium. But in the event that they are both, if let's just say Seamus and Chincotta are both named, or Simpson is named over Chincotta, then I want to take a pretty substantial risk and trade out Jack Zeeble. And I know it's very luxury, especially, considering how much injury carnage we've had, and the fact, he's still playing. The break-even's 169, but also his scoring, looking at his scoring, it's really not that flash. At nearly 570k at the moment, you would not pay 570k for scoring like this. It's really the spike score against St Kilda, and then there's some tons thrown in there, but there's also some sub tons. And if you take out that Saints game out, he's averaging under 100. And it's around, you'd say 500k is a fair price for him. So he's someone that if I have the option to, I want to cash him out. And look, if he was to go 100 for the rest of the season, I think he would be a more than fine hold. I would maybe want to get rid of Sheasel instead. I guess my big call is that I think Sheasel will go around about 5 points less than Zeeble over the course of over the second half of the year. And for them to be 100k price difference, I think I'm happier holding Sheasel. The other thing to mention about Zeeble, those last 2 scores, they've come with interim coach Brett Ratton. We don't know if Clarkson comes back or when he comes back. So if he continues scoring this poor under Ratton, then I think a lot of people will be regretting not trading him out when they've had the chance. But also, a lot of people won't have the chance this week with players like Laird and Sicily being suspended. A lot of people will be struggling to field 18 this week. So, and that is myself included. But if I can somehow get two of Seamus, Chincotta, and Simpson to play, I want to trade out Zeeble. And there's a couple around 14 premiums that I would consider. The first one's Rory Laird. He would obviously need to not be suspended this week, which is a possibility. He might win his appeal, but the way the AFL have been clamping down on those sling type tackles, I don't see it happening, even though I would attribute a lot of that to the way Lachie Neale basically positioned himself. So I think, Laird, very unlucky to get suspended. If he somehow gets off, then he is a consideration. The other, I could also bring in a ruckman, and that would be Jared Witts with the round 13 bye. I actually don't mind that as a option either. 605k, it's a little bit hefty though. And the thing is as well, with Marshall, Briggs and Witts on that ruck line, it means I'm kind of wasting around 14 score. It doesn't matter too much because if I'm trading a round 14 player in, then I would just have a donut there anyway. So I think Witts is a very solid option. Pretty lowly owned as well, only at 10%. The player I'm probably leaning towards at the moment is Darcy Cameron. 2 games back from injury, started the year really well before getting injured. So 129 break even, but he does come up against West Coast, who have been giving up some massive scores to rucks. 3 scores early in the season, 103, 137, albeit against Port Adelaide, and then 89 against Nankervis, but he was subbed out at 3/4 time, so that could have been a 120. And then I kind of attribute the last 2 scores to him. Well, I think the Carlton game, he had low time on ground and not very much ruck work. North Melbourne, it seemed like he was back to himself. Godstein, obviously not an easy matchup. Whereas Bailey Williams or Callum Jamison or whoever West Coast tried out at their ruck position, that is a good matchup. So West Coast round 12, Melbourne round 13. I mentioned that earlier, they've been giving up big scores to rucks. Riley O'Brien round 15. And probably more crucially, just provides some cover for the ruck forward position. If I do want to bring in if I did want to trade Kieran Briggs to a Jared Witts once Briggs hits his bye. So I think I'm going the Darcy Cameron route. It leaves me 555k in the bank. Obviously not ideal, but I think it's probably the right play. If I go into my plans in detail, this is kind of how I've mapped it out. So this first example, let's just say if Seamus Mitchell was the only rookie that wasn't playing, then I would trade out Chincotta instead of Zeeble. So that'll leave me 227k in the bank. I would get Seamus Mitchell to a rookie at round 14. And then Clayton Oliver round 15, Rory Laird round 16. And what I really want to do, we'll see how possible it is. So all of these trades, that takes me down to 4 trades, which obviously isn't ideal, but it gets me to full premium with, Zeeble, Sheasel, Smith really is the only question marks. I do have Taranto in the midfield as well. But it's a solid full premium side. And what I would want to do with another trade is somehow get Matt Johnson up to a 23rd fake premium. So it really depends on how everything plays out. But say if Johnson gets to 300k, then maybe there's a chance I can bring in Mills as that fake premium. maybe I have to go someone a bit cheaper, like a George Hewitt once he comes back from concussion, or see how cheap Tom Hawkins gets. Either way, I want that 23rd player in the side just to cover these suspensions that have been happening recently. Sicily, Laird, Zach Merritt, three big name players that have been rubbed out for a week. Also covers a short term injury. So, say if I brought Clary in, and let's just say he got injured round 17 with another minor hamstring and was missing 2 weeks, then rather than having to use a trade, I can use that 23rd premium or fake premium to cover his score. So this is pretty much how it would look like if, let's just say it was Simpson and Jincotta out. So I would be cashing out someone like Davey round 15, and I think it would leave me with, I think it would leave me with 18 on field. Two of those would be rookie scores, or three of those would be rookie scores that I would need to bring in round 14 or round 15. So I would need to hope that those players pop up. Hoping that we get a mid-season draft player that hits the ground running and plays in round 15. See how things go. The other alternative, trading out Zeeble. So I'd probably looked, 555k in the bank. Round 14, I can target someone like a Neil, maybe even a Sarong, maybe even Mills if he comes back early. And then, round 15, getting Clary. Round 16, getting whoever I can afford, really, probably Mills. And the thing with this, the Zeeble option, trading Zeeble out, it nets me 90k or 90k, 100k. So it's basically the same as cashing out a rookie. So in the previous example, I cashed out Davey as that extra trade, which only nets me 70k. So I don't know. It's definitely risky. It's risky to try and plan to finish a side with 3 trades left, considering how many injuries we've copped. And looking at all the injuries I've copped this year, Took Miller, LDU, Clayton Oliver. I didn't cop Doherty because I traded him out early. There's Sean Darcy, obviously. So it is risky to go down to 3 trades with a completed side. But I don't see an alternative. It's basically like a marathon where I'm just trying to keep pace with the lead group, running at a flat out pace, get to the 20-kilometer mark, and it's like, I know my petrol tickets are low. I just got to hope that the team can hang in there, be on the right side of a bit of luck, and who knows, hopefully can find a top 10 finish, especially if I can thrive over the bye rounds. And I should have 18 this week. I should have 18 in week 14, and assuming things go right, I will have 18 in round 15. So these bye rounds are a really good opportunity to make up some rank on the field. And hopefully after round 16 onwards, I can kind of just hold pace and hopefully a bit of the carnage that will inevitably fall, I can cover with a 23rd premium, or just happens to not fall my way. So as per usual, I'd like to thank you all for watching the video. If you have any questions, make sure to put them down in the comments section below. I guess the thing I will say is that every team situation is every situation is different for each side. Like if you like I am sorry, some people might be able to handle this bye a bit better with more playing. Hopefully your sides are in a good place. Hopefully Even from a non-owner's point of view, I would like to see Laird get off at the tribunal, but I guess we'll see what the AFL match review panel do. I guess I always forget, but I need to look at some captains. First game, Melbourne Carlton. I don't know if Melbourne players. I don't really want to go for Doherty. Port Adelaide Hawthorn could potentially go Rosé. I think the vice captain play. I'm gonna go. I think it's either DeGoey or Dacos. Um, I think I'm probably leaning towards DeGoey with 156 beating up against North Melbourne. Kind of hoping that Lightning strikes twice. Bulldogs and Geelong also play at the same time as uh, Gold Coast and Adelaide, which is a bit unfortunate because I would have been confident going like a vice captain Bontempelli into a captain Dawson. So I think I will go Dawson, maybe. Let's toss up between Dawson and Bontempelli for the captaincy. And other options, Tom Green against Richmond, or Taranto against GWS. Taranto, I guess, a revenge game. And maybe I go Zach Merritt against. Yeah, I could go Dawson into Merritt as well. I guess the slight concerning thing about Merritt is he copped a cork last week. So we'll see if he's 100%, but I think he's a pretty solid option as well. Yeah, North Melbourne ranked 17 against mid. And they were a lot better early in the season, but I guess their midfield is decimated now. So maybe I go with Dawson into Merritt. Still to be decided. But yeah, as per usual, thanks for watching the video. Make sure to leave a comment down below if you need some trade advice, and I'll see you for the next video. Hopefully Carnage doesn't get any worse. So thanks for watching. See you later.